There's a guy I went to college with who's the grandson of the boxer Gene Tunney, who was a world champion boxer in the 1920s, before World War II. And he's one of the greatest boxers ever. He only lost one professional fight. But what makes him amazing is that he had a pretty typical story for a boxer. He was an Irish immigrant, or his parents were Irish immigrants, grew up in, lower income section of New York City, and became a world champion. But he was also highly gifted intellectually. He, it turns out, was an expert in Shakespeare and taught a class on Shakespeare at Yale University after his boxing career. My friend's father, who is the son of Gene Tunney, one of the sons of Gene Tunney, made a play. I didn't see it, but it played in Chicago last year. It was about the friendship between Gene Tunney, William Bernard Shaw, and I'm going to forget his name. He's a famous writer in the U.S. And I'm sure I'll remember the name as soon as I get off this video. But basically, George Bernard Shaw, Gene Tunney, and the writer that everybody knows his name. Anyway, these three were fast friends, and the son of Gene Tunney wrote a play about their friendship, and it played in Chicago, which is amazing because today, if you look at the greatest athletes of the day, they might be very smart people, they might be intelligent people, but they're not necessarily known for their intellect. And they're not usually friends with the highest intellectual minds of their day. So it's a very different time. I don't know if Gene Tunney was typical of his time back then. I think probably not. I think he was a very atypical person. He also married into the Carnegie family, which I didn't know until very recently. I've been to their house. I mean, obviously Gene Tunney is no longer alive, but when I was in college, I went and visited this guy in the summer at his grandmother's house. Gene Tunney was no longer alive, but his grandmother was still alive, the wife of Gene Tunney. And the grandmother was, I guess, the daughter, had to have been the daughter of Andrew Carnegie, one of the daughters of Andrew Carnegie, or maybe, I don't know, but she was definitely a Carnegie. So Tunney married into the Carnegie families. So, I mean, the Carnegie family, Andrew Carnegie came up from nothing as well. But this guy who came up from nothing marries into the Carnegie family, the wealthiest family in the world. And it's an amazing story. And the reason I'm thinking about it now is because I read on Facebook, my feed gave me this profile of Gene Tunney. And he's a beautiful man, like strikingly, gorgeously handsome man. Actually looks a lot like my friend. Or my friend, looks a lot like his own grandfather. anyway, and I read this, and I, I, I sent the link to my friend. I said, "Hey, he was the Arnold Schwarzenegger of his day." Because the thing that made me think about it was, during World War II, Tunney ran the physical fitness programs for the military or something like that. He fought in World War One, but then in World War II he was involved somehow with like national fitness, the way that Arnold Schwarzenegger was after he married into the Kennedy family, when he married Maria Shriver, and after his bodybuilding career. So very similar. Tunney didn't go into politics, but married into a wealthy, famous family that was basically American royalty, and ran this national fitness program after being an amazing athlete. Really, incredible rags to riches story. Super intelligent, intellectually, which Arnold Schwarzenegger is too. I mean, he's not known as an intellectual per se, but he's a highly intelligent human. So anyway, I just thought that was beautiful. And I just got done watching the Kennedy documentary on HBO. Very poignant, and really gave me an appreciation for what a great president JFK would have been if he hadn't been assassinated. And the same thing with Robert Kennedy, and how sad it is to have lost those people. But anyway, I think it's really impressive what Gene Tunney did, and what he created. I mean, his family, no one else in his family, as far as I know, has gotten as famous as him. But he did have a son who was a U.S. senator. My friend's father, did very well in life in the shipping business, and my friend ended up spending his high school years in Korea because they moved over there. He himself is a black belt in Taekwondo and Aikido, and did some jiu-jitsu and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, really interesting family. A lot like the Kennedy family. I mean, the Kennedy family is more famous, and what they've done is amazing. As far as rags to riches and climbing to the highest peaks of society. And, nothing comes without a price. You watch that Kennedy documentary and you see the price that family paid for their success. It was almost like Joe Kennedy sold his soul to the devil or something, and the price was, you're going to lose your children. There's going to be all this tragedy in your family. I mean, it feels like that when you see what's happened to their family. Greatness and success are really fascinating things. I think we want them, and we don't want to pay the price. There's definitely a price to pay. I'm learning about that price every day. I don't know if I'll be successful in life. I mean, I guess it depends how you define success. I'm striving for my success. I'm striving to be the best that I can be. And, what price do I have to pay? Am I willing to pay the price that's necessary? I know people who are successful or have been successful, and I see the price that they pay. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. I'm just saying I see how hard they work And it's definitely daunting. I don't know if I'm on that path or not. We'll see.